So here's our physical ergonomics. How many of you have killed a desk plant? All right, well, I had to. It was something else. I was working on the PowerPoint, and I was getting to this part, and I look over at one of my favorite plants, and I was like, oh man, you need to water me. So it happens, it happens. And the key though is that I want to renew your interest in plants. I do think that like the 70s, we should probably talk to them. And where we're going to be talking about real desk plants being one of the best things that you can do as a physical ergonomic, fake plants are one of the worst. All they do is collect dust and chi, energy. And so physical desk plants, in 1989, NASA did research on plants, not talking to them, but what they wanted to do is they wanted to see what plants could absorb different toxic chemicals from the area. If a plant's within 100 feet of you, there's a whole list of plants, and actually if you do my QR code and send me your email and number, I'll send you a neat little PDF chart that shows all of the plants individually, what they are, what chemicals they absorb. I don't have anything on there for how to take care of them. It's basically water and sun, right? But it's amazing that not only do these plants absorb toxic chemicals like formaldehyde, but what they can also do is, you guys ever heard that plants give off oxygen? So that's pretty good for our breathing too, right? Not only that, but they also are aesthetically pleasing. They make the place nicer to go in. That's why spas spend so much money on plants, is because they really do bring that biophilic element into the workplace. So plants are great. And then we can look at both ergonomic workspaces and movement breaks. Those kind of go hand in hand and are absolutely necessary. Our ergonomic workplaces are going to be the ones that we have the right kind of desks, or if you're driving, you're gonna have the car that has all the things on it, you know, even the massage and the heat, that's fantastic. But we need to start thinking about how we're working, even having like rubber mats. I mean, if you go to a Starbucks, they figured that out, okay? Not only do they make Frappuccinos, but they use mats that everybody knows how to use in order to not hurt their legs and strain. And if you do strain for too long, you get these little spider veins in your legs. That's where those come from. Plus you get all these other nasty work-related stress injuries. And so we can really do a lot of work just changing the workspace and the elements that we use, the tools that we use. And as far as movement breaks go, a lot of the problems that we have in our musculoskeletal system are simply because even if we have the best tools, if we don't move it, we're going to lose it, right? So we lose pliability, we lose circulation, and all of these have a downward effect to them. So we need to take movement breaks. That needs to be a part of our culture. And then finally, hydration stations. We need some high quality H2O. Anybody know that? There you go. So high quality H2O is extremely important, and what you might not know is that there's a difference between healthy water and safe water. Safe water is going to be when we remove all the contaminants like, you know, chlorine and microplastics and pharmaceuticals. You know that's in the water? It's in the water. So that's safe water when all that's removed. But here's something you probably didn't think about. Your body has these things called kidneys, and what they do is they maintain the balance of a lot of your electrolytes, okay? They also work with your blood pressure. And what will happen is that if you drink tap water or water that's even bottled, and they've completely reversed osmosis, well, they've also taken out some really incredible minerals that we need, like calcium, magnesium, and zinc. It's probably something you haven't thought about, but you can get safe water. You can get filters that remove all the nasty stuff and then also reintroduce the calcium, magnesium, and zinc. Because if you don't do it in your water, your kidneys are going to say, you know what, I need more of that stuff. And I know those are in the bones, and I know those are in the muscles. So let me go ahead, and because you're not giving me that, I'm going to go ahead and take what I need so that way I can survive, so that way I can still keep you alive. But there's a difference between that. This is not the stuff that's taught in school, and this is not on our basic healthy and safe protocols. But these are things that in a world that's emerging and becoming more progressive in its understanding, these are the things that we can start thinking about. And they're simple fixes too. They don't cost a whole lot of money, and they can be done. Of course, if you want more information on that, make sure you get my QR code at the end. And then we have cognitive ergonomics, meditation areas. Remember when we talked about the hippocampus a little bit? You can think about hippocampus. Campus is like a university, right? Well, that's where we have all of our explicit memory. So when we learn something, it goes to our hippocampus. If your hippocampus is destroyed, and we'll talk about what does that here in a little bit, if your hippocampus is destroyed, you're not going to be able to remember things. Hopefully you got enough of a hippocampus to remember today, to know about your hippocampus, but it's a real thing. The hippocampus, fortunately, you can rebuild it, and we'll talk about that at the end also. One of the ways that we do it is through meditation. Meditation works not only with the hippocampus, but this other thing called the cingulate cortex, and that helps us deal with judgment. And so meditation is not just so that you can feel trendy and be like a little guru. Meditation actually rebuilds the brain. Along with, and we'll kind of go to that, and we'll hit the other ones here in a minute. It'll be on the next one, but eating right. Both meditation and healthy eating can actually restore function to the hippocampus. It creates something called brain-derived neurotropic factor. There won't be a test on it later, don't worry. Natural light exposure. Now I know that that's sometimes a tough thing here in Alaska, but when we have it, we should have as much of it as we possibly can. And when we don't, let's go ahead and think about what other alternatives of lighting we have. These halogen lights, like I was talking about, they actually emit radiation. And the National Council of Radiation, we have one of those, recognizes that it only takes a 2 milligauss increase to put the body in a stress state and to affect the immunity. Well, these halogen lights can hit anywhere from 5 to 20. Your cell phones are 5 to 20. Hair dryers go up to like 100. Microwaves are way high up there. Blenders, talking again about those poor Starbucks boys and girls, they hit 200 milligauss of radiation while they're just using those blenders. It's not the only reason that caffeine is the reason that they're whacked out, maybe, is because also all the radiation. So it doesn't mean that you have to stop using your Vitamix. It just means becoming aware that we do have radiation emitted from our technology, and the more natural of a setting that we can have, then it's going to make everything a lot nicer. And then noise control and blue blocking, these are things that really do help calm the mind. Has anybody used blue blocking lenses? So yeah, all right, there you go. There's an ergonomic, a cognitive ergonomic that we're using. And they really do make a huge difference if you have to use a computer for extended periods of time. And then finally...
Sad story on blue blocking. I certainly agree with that, and a lot of my staff agree, but my business will not reimburse them because of this. They're showing science that doesn't, there's that half the arguments, half the other way.
Yeah.
But it works for them, and so it's really sad.
Well, and that's going to be what we're going to find, is that, you go online and you can almost find an opposite to every single argument, right? That's one of the things that a lot of companies really like to look for, is ways of being cheap and spending, the least amount of money on the employees. And so if you've got 5, reports that say it helps, and they can find the one that they want to read, then that's the shift. But again, that's where we have to have a stronger voice. And of course, we can always find companies that do give you blue blocking lenses, right? So our organizational ergonomics, that's the last category that we have, but please don't think for a second that these 12 different interventions that I have up here are all that there is. There are dozens upon dozens for each one of these areas. Our organizational ergonomics are going to be really what show us the character of the place that we work at. And when I mean character, how much do they really care about you? One of the good things that did come out from the pandemic is that we explored flex time and where we're going to work. We're going to work from home, or we're going to work at different times. And these can really accommodate families, people that have kids, people that have elderly parents that they have to take care of. That's one of the most important organizational ergonomics that most institutes are really looking towards, because they can see that when people are able to live their regular lives, they can actually come to work more productive. Recognition systems. How many people have ever been, you don't have to raise your hand on this one. Have you been disciplined, because something that you did didn't fit within the program?
Yes.
Well, having recognition, yes.
He said that, not me.
Oh, it happens. It happens. It's something that we have to, again, completely look at new. When we were exploring coaching football, What we looked at was that every time a coach would replay a negative effect, like, did you see how you missed that ball? You should have, what's wrong with you? Look at it, look at it. That didn't help at all. Negative reinforcement does not work. It doesn't work on so many levels, and I don't have time to tell you all of them right now, but I can tell you that based on science, it does not work. We need positive reinforcement. We need guidance. You want somebody to do something for you, show them how. Don't just tell them how. We saw from our keynote today how important it is to not just tell somebody, but show somebody something, right? Demonstrate it. And then give them praise for when they do good. And don't slam them when they did. You don't know what's going on, right? So healthy snacking, we talked about that a little bit. And if you really, really want some collaboration, what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to involve everybody in the workforce. That's going to create real collaboration is if you do stuff off the clock.